Pre-dawn holds its breath. Whetstone sweats. A carved channel hums under your palm, cool as bone. A reed whistle cuts the dark. No thunder, no clouds. Only water waiting behind a gate. What if the Maya never collapse? Not a legend of endless conquests. Not a palace of gold. The first 24 hours, that's our test. If they survive, today feels different the moment the sun lifts the corn tassels. Numbers first. 2, maybe 3, dry seasons of water already banked. 40 days of grain across the league. Small numbers, terrifying numbers. The kind that keep a city calm when the sky refuses to help. Pressure was real. It bit, and it lasted. 9th century drought lines still sleep in Yucatan lake cores. Brown scars and mud, year after year. Soils thinned under milpa burn and regrow. Forests pulled back like breath. Great names carved on stone, Tikal, Kalakmul. Trading victories the way storms trade lightning, bright and brief. Tribute walked on tired feet. Maize, salt, labor. One failed harvest, and the math turned cruel. Writing locked in the hands of elite scribes. When courts fell, memory fell with them. You stand on a white causeway. The air tastes of limestone and last night's copal. A boy sprints by, clutching bark paper to his chest. A woman taps a clay jar and listens for the right echo. The city wakes like a cautious animal. The sky looks empty. Your stomach knots. Here's the reveal you won't see in murals. Survival is maintenance. Tikale's urban reservoirs once fed multitudes, but pigments and ritual wash made the water sour. The fix was not a miracle. It was ritualized cleaning on schedule. Charcoal and limestone screens, silt baffles, spillways cleared at the right moon. Miss the rhythm, and the water punishes you. Keep it, and the water forgives. We are not inventing horses. We are not striking sparks into gunpowder. We mend what broke with tools the Maya owned. Stone, fiber, clay, timing, law. Problem, plausible fix, observable signal. That's the oath. We will keep it like a drummer keeps time. Listen, low drums in the plaza, not triumph. Discipline. Prestige raids once bought cheers, famine bought silence, succession cracked, ledgers smeared. You can read the swing on stelae as power lurches, name against name, date cut into date. Tikal pushes, Kalakmul answers, and the pendulum grinds the middle into dust. Now, change the day. Watch the first hour. No one pleads with the sky. A gate groans. Water moves because design makes it move. Second hour, market opens. No rush, no scream. Ledger sticks notch softly. A thumb wipes charcoal across a tally. Third hour. The fields take hands, not soldiers. Seed goes down without the taste of iron in the mouth. By noon, heat bullies the streets. Shade pools, work continues. Panic never finds a host. Retention beat. Compare it. Collapse shouts. Survival whispers. Stories love thunder. Cities live on hum. If the Maya endure, it's because someone makes the unglamorous choices every single day. Because a valve is greased. Because a screen is rinsed. Because a captain waits to fight until the corn is safe. Our method is simple and ruthless. We fix water and food. We time war and name heirs. We move weight over water, not over pride. We spread writing from court to market, so memory stops depending on one roof. We prepare for strangers by feeding quarantine before we feed feasts. Each move nails to something you can point at. A core sample, a reservoir, a sacbé road, a codex page. Each move leaves a signal. Fewer emergency rain rights, fields that green after 2 lean years. Stelae about pacts, not prisoners. Markets with glyphs a child can read. Stay with me. Breathe with this city. Feel stone cool your fingertips. Hear the hush right before the gate turns. Survival is not loud. It is a habit that refuses to break. If this is the kind of fire-tested history you crave, counterfactuals tied to receipts, subscribe to What If Wars. It keeps this work honest. It keeps this city standing. Back to the valve. Your hand tightens. Stone kisses stone. A slow turn. Air thins. Water runs. On a rainless morning, the city drinks. The problem first. Rain lies, it gathers, then vanishes. Reservoirs bloom with pigments and sickness. Milpa burns, soil thins. Yields swing like a loose door. Kitchens learn fear, children learn to count hunger. The fix is stone, ash, rhythm. Tier 1, the city bowls, cut limestone, plastered basins, screens of woven fiber packed with charcoal and lime, spillways that remember where panic used to start. Tier 2, the satellite ponds, aguadas girdled with embankments, each one a patient lung. Tier 3, the rural sinks and cisterns, shallow and many, stitched by shallow canals, so overflow steps down instead of tearing through. Maintenance becomes liturgy, cleaning days set by calendar, silt lifted and spread on fields, screens rinsed until the water runs clear as bone. The waterkeeper listens with the ear of a drummer. Flow should sound like a slow rattle, not a hiss. Miss the note, correct it. Charcoal replaced before the taste turns. Lime refreshed before the shine fades. Retention beat. 2 to 3 dry seasons buffered. That is the promise. Not a boast, a measured comfort. Under the hills, slopes wear terraces, curved to the land. Stone lips catch rain, nudge it inward. In the flats, bajos stop being insults and start acting like vaults. Ditches redirect wet season surges into raised plots. After floods recede, the soil remembers to breathe. Roots live longer. Weeds argue less. The field becomes a mosaic instead of a wound. Milpa stays, but it shares space. Lines of maize stand shoulder to shoulder with cacao shade, ramon trees, avocado. Vines soften the edges, slow the wind. Chickens scratch between trunks. Fallen leaves hide earth from the sun. A burn still happens, but it is a narrow, patient burn. The ash is trapped, not lost. It slides back into pits, becomes biochar, a black memory that keeps water and feeds microbes that never get a stela but win the war. Evidence hums beneath our feet. Lake cores in the northern lowlands keep drought years like a tally. You can smell the old fires and ancient charcoal dust. Urban reservoirs at Tikal once fed crowds. Pigment wash and ceremony once soured them. Raised fields and terraces survive in outlines where the wetland meets the town. The land itself whispers, "If you kneel and touch it," an anecdote to turn in your hands. Dawn again. The waterkeeper slides a reed into a slot in the screen. The rattle is low, even. Good. He taps stone, 1, 2, 3, and here's the answer he needs. On the far edge of the city, a mother crouches with a basket. She pinches a smear of black char, rubs it between finger and thumb, feels the grit change as it drinks the dew. She counts ears of maize, not in fear, but in schedule. Supper will be ordinary. She smiles and stands, signals rise, and they are visible. Emergency rain rights thin out, not vanished, disciplined. Stele speak less about pleading and more about upkeep. Markets stop spiking at the first hot wind. The pollen story changes. Less grass in the cores, more tree among the grains. Ramon, fruit, shade. Fields hold green through a mean year. Yields even out. Not heroically high, reliably enough. Retention beat. A number that feels like a hand on your back. Yield swings that once lurched a quarter between feast and want now move like a tide you can read. A tenth, then less. Seed travels along paths that were always there, but now they carry purpose instead of chance. Drought-tolerant maize from one valley meets another's strength. Farmers trade kernels like charms. The league names seasons for exchange, and the roads wear down in the right places. Smell this. Freshly opened spillway after a storm, mineral and cool. Hear this. Terraces drinking a downpour without tearing. See this. A dam of woven brush catching silt like a net of gold. Taste this. Bitter cacao in shade where soil doesn't crack by noon. The reveal is simple and a little cruel to the ego. Survival is not a king's deed. It is a choreography. Stone laid at the right angle. Ash returned at the right time. Hands repeating humble steps so often they become a city's pulse. When drought arrives, and it will, the city does not wager on mercy. It spends from the vault of last season's discipline and next season's patience. Now, hold two pictures side by side. In the first, the sky fails in late spring. The plaza fills with smoke and pleading. The reservoirs smell wrong. Markets howl. Fields burn counting days. In the second, the same sky fails. A gate opens. A measured flow. Spillways guide what little comes. The terraces hold. Kitchens count jars, not rumors. Work continues. Songs stay work songs. We keep our oath. Problem. Plausible fix. Observable signal. You can walk to any piece of this and touch it. A terrace stone. A black shard of biochar. A clean screen drying in shade. A pollen diagram inked by a scribe who also plants beans. One last image before we move on. Afternoon heat hammers the plaza. A boy carries a clay cup to the water keeper. The man drinks, nods, and marks a line on a ledger stick. Not a prayer. A record. Tomorrow's flow begins with the day's count. The problem walks in wearing jaguar hide and a grin. Fractured cities. Prestige raids that taste sweet and rot the teeth. Succession years when knives get names. Tribute in maize and salt, fragile as a promise. One bad season, and ledgers turn to smoke. Famine learns your children's names. The fix is a league, bound by calendar and trade, not by crowns. Start with the road. White sacbé lines pull the map tight. They converge on neutral ground, sanctuaries where gods watch and judges speak little. Fairs rise on fixed days. Markets pulse by ritual time, not by panic. Rivals meet where everyone can see them. Law is carved where rain can touch it. A written succession code, not elegant, clear. Who follows whom? What to do if a line breaks? Names, signs, dates. This blunts the lunge. This turns hot whispers into hard rules. The crowd knows before the courtiers do. War learns manners. A covenant grips the planting season. No war while seeds go down, while shoots break, while pollination hisses in the fields. Break the covenant, and the league closes gates. No salt, no obsidian, no access to docks. Prestige meets hunger and loses. Captives change jobs. No more parades with ropes and paint for the sake of a carving. The league claims bodies for public works. Reservoir dredging, terrace repairs, canal cuts, quarry lines. A drum marks the shift of labor. Humiliation becomes stone and water. Stores rise like quiet fortresses. League granaries, salt vaults. A levy that feels fair because it is predictable. 1 jar in 10, tallied when the moon says so. Iconic marks everyone can read. Maize, head for grain, wave for salt, circle for Labor Days. Ledger sticks cross-check baskets by weight and by sound. A clerk knocks wood and listens for the hollow that says truth. Audits come on sacred days, every 20. Not a threat, a rhythm. Inspectors roll out reed mats, fill measures, stamp seals. They eat with the people they count. They sleep in the shade of the stores they weigh. A lie tastes like dust in a dry mouth. The league learns the flavor, retention beat. A number to tie the breath. Public works recur on a 5 to 8 year rhythm. Every 5th year the canals are dredged. Every 8th the reservoir skins are relined. The city remembers because drums and debt remember for it. Evidence hums on stone. Inscriptions once swung like a pendulum. Tikal, high, Kalakmul, higher, and back again. Names boasting of seized lords and burned doorways. Now the stele change voice. More pacts, more causeways dedicated by 2 hands. Joint works named for 2 towns. Prisoners still appear, but they carry tools in the next scene. You can run your fingers across the chisel lines and feel the pivot. The roads themselves testify. Sacbé ribs reach from city to port, leveled and renewed, not just built to boast and then left to rot. Markets at the crossroads grow roofs and rules, weights standardize. A seed seller in one town can trust a measure in the next. Trust is a technology older than tin. Granaries smell like new husk and cool dust. Doors thud. Ropes creak. Inside, maize stacked in woven sacks, beans in clay, salt in sealed jars. A child presses an ear to a jar and hears the ocean hidden there. Outside, a record stick glints with beeswax rubbed over cuts. Anecdote. Two rivals step into shadow under a lintel dark with incense soot. Between them, a cup of salted cacao. The stone judge sits. He speaks little. He writes much. He points to the succession glyphs. The rivals drink, not friendship. Boundaries? Enough to plant seed in peace. Enough to fight later without starving together. Another. A clerk runs a bone stylus along a cedar stick and carves a salt glyph. The blade bites clean. His breath stays even. He knows that a steady hand feeds cities. He knows every mark is an oath kept in wood. Signals rise where mouths once bragged. Tribute lists stop jittering. The same towns, the same amounts, across 5 harvests in a row. Emergency levies thin out. Public works aren't spectacular, they are punctual. 5, 8, 5 again. Songs change in the market. Fewer verses about lean months. More teasing about inspectors who weigh with a smile and an extra eye. Retention beat. Contrast it with the old way. Campaign banners in the rain, prisoners painted blue, a crowd roaring. Weeks later, thin stew, scattered seed, a field that misses its moment. Now, silence when it is needed most, drums mute, spears sleep. The most dangerous courage is restraint measured against a calendar. Evidence anchors hold. Oscillating dominance is still on stone, but the pendulum slows. Sacbé networks carry grain and judges with equal steadiness. Storage courts and redistribution traces dot major centers. The map grows a spine. The reveal is almost insulting to pride. The bravest act is postponing victory until after the harvest, and then measuring it afterward. Glory gets scheduled, rage gets audited. The League turns appetite into administration. It teaches rulers to love ledgers. You stand at the threshold of a granary at dusk. Air cools your cheeks. The judge's reed pen dries on a cord. The clerk tucks the salt stick into a bundle, marked and counted. Outside, the fields darken. Inside, the future waits in sacks, quiet and heavy. A drum taps once, twice. Planting season is safe. War can go back to sleep. The problem stands at the shoreline. Long chains that snap in storms. Overland roads that grind feet in time. Metal that rings but rarely cuts. Words trapped in palaces. When trade stalls, stomachs speak louder than law. The fix starts where salt meets jade. Ports rise on the Caribbean and the Gulf. Low walls, cool warehouses, quays of tight-fitted stone. Not grand, durable. Canoes big as rooms slide up. 20 paddles aside, hulls tarred with resin. A light rig goes up when the wind favors. Woven fiber cloth, a shy triangle, good for a downwind push. Most days muscle carries the load. Always, timing calls the shots. Retention beat. 6-day coastal loops. 30 canoe convoys. 3 tides to unload, 2 to rest, 1 to vanish back along the blue edge. Duty-free depots sit just inland, safe from surge, marked by glyphs anyone can read. Shell for salt, leaf for cacao, blade for obsidian, knot for rope, hand for tools. Weights are carved and sealed. A turtle weight in one town matches a turtle weight in the next. A measure of beans measures the same in rain or sun. Trust replaces argument. Sacbé roads become ribs that end at docks. White stone meets wet wood without a stumble. Grain flows out when inland swells. Salt and fish flow in when inland thins. The League ties calendars to currents. Fairs align with days the water is kinder. Metals enter the story quietly. Copper tin fittings show up first as small edges and bells, then as tool caps, then as needles and fish hooks that refuse to rust in one season. No swords, no armor, just usefulness, just time saved. A canoe pinned with copper rings is faster to mend. A terrace tool capped with copper lasts another harvest. Signals you can count with your hands. Households own 1 or 2 copper pieces that are not jewelry. Ports keep ledgers that track storms like enemies. Market courts host mixed piles, obsidian cores from distant highlands, salt blocks white as bone, cacao sacks tied with braided grass, jade beads cold as a stream. The mixture is the message, networks holding through bad weather. Evidence anchors step out of shadow. Ethno-historical voices talk of long-distance canoe trade skimming the Yucatan coasts. A small island port, Isla Cerritos, once fed a giant inland hunger at Chichen Itza. Obsidian maps drawn from shards connect highlands to lowlands like veins. The proof is heavy and sharp. It cuts without a king's permission, an anecdote under a moon that looks wet. Night crossing. Surf whispers along the hull. The helmsman reads stars the way a scribe reads dates. Thumb on a notch cut in the gunwale. East wind steady, swell from the north, safe to run the reef gap. The sail trembles, then pulls. Cargo thumps as the canoe lifts. Paddles bite slow, deep. A boy at the bow counts breaths between whitecaps. Behind them, a second canoe's bow carves a silver V. In front, a lantern glows low in a clay jar at the port mouth. 3 blinks, pause, 2 blinks. The agreed signal. Trade is heartbeat. Wind is spare muscle. Retention beat. Distance is made simple. 20 miles in calm daylight. 30 with a tailwind. 40 if the gods owe you. The convoy makes its own weather by leaving on time. Now the words. A brittle script becomes a public tool. Scribes open temple village schools, not for poets, for clerks, sailors, seed sellers, porters. Sign sets are simplified for markets and wayfinding. A child can map a day with 5 glyphs: water, grain, salt, road, gate. Codices get copied on cycles that matter to kitchens. New almanacs each harvest. A full recopy every katun. Sacred pages stay sacred. Work pages go everywhere. Signals show up on walls and in hands. Wayfinding glyphs lead through markets like calm voices. Salt here. Weights checked here. Grain tallies here. You can watch a seller trace a price on bark paper and a buyer nod without calling a scribe. Memory stops living in a single roof. It spreads like shade. Evidence anchors again. Scribes and codices have always been there, inked, folded, sung to. Now their reach changes. The form holds. The function widens. You can stand in a market and see a royal hand's cousins in a stall note. Same bones, new muscles. Another anecdote. Noon, heat heavy enough to bend sound. A girl squints up at a signboard and traces a sun glyph in dust with her toe, then copies it on bark with a reed pen. Her father laughs, then nods, then lifts her hand to finish the curve. He sells beans. He now signs for delivery without waiting for a man in silk. That night she practices by lantern. Her page smells like sap and smoke. Retention beat. Copy cycles you can tap with your knuckles. Every harvest for almanacs. Every 20 years for full recopy. Every 5 for port rules. No brittle gaps, no lost years. The reveal is practical and a little ruthless. A federation lasts when weight moves on water and words move through everyone. Boats turn distance into hours. Glyphs turn strangers into partners. Pride stops deciding prices. Calendars do. Walk the port at dawn. Fish oil, wet rope, bean steam from a cookpot. A copper bell tings as a scale balances. A clerk stamps a waxed glyph on a note. Accepted, weighed, taxed at 0 inside the depot wall. Do beyond. The stamp is ugly. It is perfect. It speeds the day. Look inland. Sacbé dust in pale lines. A convoy of maize heads toward coast. A caravan of salt heads inland. A judge rides between, not to threaten, to time. He carries 2 sealed weights in a pouch and a roll of reed paper. He smiles when measures agree. Evidence holds in your palm. Obsidian flakes from a far volcano glint in lowland trash heaps. Copper bells jingle in graves and houses. Port platforms tilt into the sea. You can point at them. You can count them. You can argue amounts, not existence. By sunset, the convoy casts off again. The helmsman leans into the wind. The girl with the new glyph waves from the quay. The bell rings once, twice. The water takes weight the way it always has. Patient, forgiving, faster than pride. The problem arrives on a horizon line. New faces, new rules, gifts that gleam, fevers you cannot name. Naive bodies meet new breath, and breath is the sharpest weapon. Ports are doors. Doors can save, doors can ruin. The fix is distance, timing, food. Contact does not walk straight into the plaza. It stops at the water's edge. A contact zone sits outside the wall, shelters of reed and shade, clean water from a dedicated channel, latrines dug downwind, fires laid for smoke and sun. Goods rest in the open for days, counted, aired, smoked. Hands that touch do so with order. Messengers step forward, speak, leave bowls, step back. Retention beat. 13 days, 20 days. Not guesses, calendar bones, seclusion in Tracina cycles. Open on the count or close again. Calm math against loud fear. Quarantine becomes ritual so it can live inside memory. Gates wear a red glyph when closed, a blue glyph when open. Drums change their pattern for hold. Market crier speaks the cadence. Fields first, faces later. The league feeds the waiting with grain taken from stores the way rain is taken from reservoirs, by design, without shame. Signals you can measure. Granary drawdowns match closure days, then recover. Tribute lists do not jitter. Mortality spikes thin into humps you can step over. Trade ledgers skip pages, then resume in the same hand, the same weights, the same seals. Stelae note treaties and tariffs, not last feasts before funerals. Evidence anchors steady the hand. History tells what happens when strangers carry new sickness into naive populations. The fall is fast. A federation with deep stores and fixed calendars can do the only fair magic there is. Buy time with food and rules. Isolation and provisioning are not modern tricks. They are old common sense when a village feeds a sick house and keeps the path clear. An anecdote at dusk. A ship sits like a dark tooth beyond the reef. The council meets under smoke-black beams. Some want a parade. New gods, new blades, new favors. The oldest farmer speaks once. We do not parade hunger. The stone judge raises a reed pen, writes the red glyph for hold. Drums go quiet, doors stay shut, grain doors open. A runner leaves baskets at the contact line, walks away without turning. On the third day, a stranger coughs into his sleeve and understands the word boundary. Retention beat. Numbers as nerves. 40 days of league grain still on hand. 2 seasons of water firm. 10 canoes diverted to carry staples to the coast shelters. 1 drum change teaches 1,000 people when not to gather. Diplomacy learns a new stride. Trade, not tribute. Lists, not boasts. Terms spoken in daylight, repeated at sunset, carved by morning. Coastal depots stamp a glyph on bark notes. Accepted, quarantined, to be released on day 13 if no fever rises. A captain who tries to push the wall finds prices double and doors triple barred. A captain who waits watches the red turn blue and the market open like a flower. Signals accumulate like calm. Port logs show ships turned away during sickness moons, welcomed after, fines paid by those who rush the line. Inland, planting and harvest keep their rhythm. No armies march because a stranger arrived. War still exists. It waits its season like a good tool waits a hand. Evidence walks the map. Federated systems move grain where it is needed, when it is needed. They send rules with the grain. The proof is simple. Continuity. The same clerk writes before and after. The same child copies glyphs 2 years later. The same road holds carts that creak with beans, not bodies. Another anecdote to hold. A healer chalks a glyph on a lintel. Silence inside. She sings low to a boy who burns under a woven mat. She drinks water, swallows fear, changes cloth, counts days on her knuckles. On day 20, the fire breaks. She wipes the chalk line clean. Outside, 2 neighbors step forward. They do not embrace. They place food. They bow. The boy steps into light. Retention beat. Contrast it. The page you know from other histories, crowded churches, shared cups, burial pits, does not get written here. The page reads, boring. Boring is the miracle. Now, the payoff you were promised. The first 24 hours in a city that does not fall look like a day. The Watergate opens at dawn, flow measured, market opens on time with fewer stalls, spaced wide, glyphs guiding lines. A blue and red plank hangs at the port mouth, closed for now. Fields pull hands, not soldiers. Ledgers notch. A judge rides the road, not to punish, to check measures. The sun climbs, heat presses, work continues. Panic scouts the alleys and finds only routine. 3 lessons, cut short and sharp. Keep water, keep ledgers, time wars, keep water because habit beats weather. A city that banks rain can say no to chaos. Keep ledgers because truth needs a tool. A city that weighs fairly starves rumor. Time wars because courage is restraint on a calendar. A city that plants first can fight later and choose not to. The reveal under everything. Survival isn't luck. It is pre-decided by logistics. It is a vote cast days, months, years earlier by hands that rinsed screens, tallied sacks, sealed doors, and waited the right number of dawns. Final image, night returns, the reef grumbles. The lantern at the port blinks its quiet code. In the plaza, someone tunes a drum and chooses not to strike it. In the granary, a clerk smooths beeswax over fresh cuts on a ledger stick and blows the dust away. In a courtyard, a mother pours water and says, "Tomorrow," as if it were guaranteed. Here, it often is, if this kind of hard, quiet power speaks to you, history tested, receipts in hand, subscribe to What If Wars. Tell us your call. Does the league hold or fracture under trade pressure? Your answer is part of the story.